Hey, Soul Survivors, I have a viewer topic request. So he says that I just got a temporary protection order, a TPO, found out his girl was cheating and they agreed she would move out. Went to the landlord to see what she had to do. They told her 30 days and to let them know. The very next day, she said that I was threatening her, which of course was false. And I'm the head of household. When will the judge dismiss it? When the judge dismisses it, will she have to move, or because she's a woman, will they tell me to move? So if you've been cohabitating with somebody, now let me give a disclaimer first. I've been to law school. I taught criminal law, but I am not an attorney, but I've been through custody battles and the court system. I was a juvenile probation officer. So depending on what state you're in, the judge, the jurisdiction, if you have attorney representation, it can all turn out completely different. So there's my disclaimer. But in the context of a breakup and a restraining order, it's extremely important to follow the legal process and to respect the terms of this restraining order, because you can go to jail. It can also look really bad against you in court if it does go to court. So I know he's worried because sometimes women do seem to, with child custody, a lot of times it goes to the woman. And I don't know if there's a child involved, so I'll talk about what happens during a breakup when you've lived together. He has an apartment that was with her. So regarding this living situation, your rights depend on different factors, and these can include your lease agreement and local laws, specific details of the case. So generally, both parties have rights and responsibilities when it comes to shared living spaces. So these are some steps to consider. Review your lease agreement and understand the terms and conditions related to occupancy, termination, and responsibilities. Sometimes it'll have somebody as the leaseholder and somebody as like a resident under the leaseholder. And sometimes we might need to talk to an attorney if we really want to stay in our place. So you might want to seek an actual representation from an attorney. There could be a court hearing, and this can be related to the restraining order or another legal matter. Attend this hearing, be present, share your side of the story, be prepared to provide evidence and witnesses that support your case. So you might need a character witness because of the fact that she says you're threatening. There was an agreement, which is kind of good, depends on your state, if they see oral agreements. If there was a witness to that oral agreement. So if that oral agreement was said in front of the landlord, that could be to your benefit. Temporary housing. Sometimes because of this protection order, we might need to have temporary housing while these matters are resolved. You don't want to break that protection order. Even if it's unfair, it's still a court order, and I don't want you to be in contempt of court. And mediation, depending on these circumstances, mediation may be an option to resolve the disputes more amicably and avoid lengthy court battles. So you will be better off if you guys can agree to something, because once it goes to court, it's out of your hands. You guys can't finagle certain things. It's up to the judge. You both present your sides and it's up to him. So instead of leaving the situation into somebody else's hands, it's better if you guys are able to work through it. Sometimes we cannot do that though, and we do need help. So if you and your ex-girlfriend have a child together, it adds another layer. And even if you don't have a child, I'm going to give you some more information. This can cause it to be more complex. So cases that involve children, family courts typically prioritize the best interest of the child. So, the age of the child, is a child in school? So child custody and visitation, the court might need to determine issues related to the child custody and visitation. Is this a permanent breakup? Sometimes people get back together. So know what you're dealing with. Is this your time to get out of a lease that maybe you didn't want? Weigh your options, pick your battles, and just remember, you will be jointly and severably liable if both parties are on that lease as a leaseholder, which means If she bails on the rent, if you guys split the rent, you're going to be responsible for the full amount. Same goes the other way. If you leave, she can be fully responsible, jointly and severably. So just remember, it'll affect your credit. So if she ends up getting to stay in that place, make sure your name is taken off that lease, because if she decides not to pay, it will affect your credit. Also, if there's any damage, you would be jointly and severably liable for that. So take away any possibility of any more damage if she is awarded the place. And also you want her off the lease too. So if you keep it. Parental rights, both parents generally have legal rights to be involved in their child's life unless the court determines that it's not in the child's best interest. So even though there is a temporary protection order on you, you should still be able to see your child. That's up to the courts, depending on if she's, what kind of violence she said. If there's proof to it, sometimes they might have a hold on it. You might not be able to see the child, depends on what's all worded, and gets really tricky. But if the restraining order affects your ability to spend time with your child, you might want to seek legal advice on potentially modifying the order or addressing the issue in family court. Some cases, the court may encourage or require mediation to help parents reach agreements on the custody and visitation. Developing a co-parenting plan that outlines each parent's responsibility and visitation schedule can be beneficial. Now, when you have a TPO or a PPO, personal protection order, that it's really difficult because you cannot contact them. And that can be quite frustrating and can make you feel helpless, worried, scared. All these different emotions are going to get stirred up. So it's really important during this time not to reach out directly. You may need an attorney to contact her attorney. And there's where you can't use an agent to contact her. So you can't have like your mom, depending on your TPO, but having somebody relay a message for you. So be careful on that. So if you ask your mom, can you ask her this? If you ask your sister, can you ask her that? That can sometimes be seen as you contacting them. So be real careful on that. It's using an agent to do your work, and they'll see it as you reaching out. So you might not be able to contact them in any way. So within your lease agreement, it might specify who's considered the tenant or the leasing. So if you both are named on the lease, you might have rights to the apartment. So definitely check into that. Head of household. You said you were head of household. It might not necessarily confer special rights, unfortunately, unless it is explicitly outlined in your lease and local laws. But it can be a factor considered by the courts. Sometimes the length of time that you were there, were you there for 10 years and then she moved in for the last 3 months, or have you lived there for 1 year and you guys have been together for 15 years? All those kind of factors will take a part in it. You said you were a head of household. Is she able to even afford the rent on her own? Does she even want it, or is she being spiteful when she comes to the realization like, whoa, that's a $2,000 or $1,000 a month lease? Am I able to pay that? Is this a place I want to stay? Child custody and living arrangements, even if it's not your child, if she has a child, they might consider, the child's in school. They might decide possibly to let her have it, or, to hopefully ask you if you would please leave. My guess is you have a good standing, but the fact that there was that TPO, I don't have enough information. I'm not sure if they just told you can't go home, or was she told to leave the premise, like, for your safety, ma'am, you need to maybe stay at a friend's or family members. So if you are staying in the place, that's to your benefit. If you were like forced out during that TPO, she's already in there. That's going to be a hard switch. So best options is, try to, see when the temporary protection order expires. Is it able to be something that you guys can talk through? Definitely do not contact her during this time. I don't know how long your TPO is for. Is it for just, 30 days, 90 days? Is it a 6-month one? How temporary is it? So she, it can be brought up that, she never mentioned this harm or threat. When we were discussing it with the landlord, she agreed to that. Utilize whatever you can as evidence. The fact that, maybe you have a witness that she said that she was with you. If she, you went to discuss it with the landlord and she agreed. If she is seen as like Alicia under you, that you might need to give her an eviction notice and have that in writing. It may need to be notarized. It may need to be served. You can contact the sheriff's department to have somebody serve papers. Definitely don't do it yourself. Get evidence that she was served with that paper of eviction. So if that can help answer some of your questions, if you have any more questions, it gets tricky when people break up. There's a lot of emotions that go through, and she's lashing out trying to hurt you because she was hurt. So people lie without realizing how damaging it can be to someone. Big hugs to you. Nobody deserves to have that put on them and the stresses. It'd be nice if the world was full of honest people, but she's playing dirty. And just protect yourself, document everything, and keep us posted. Topic requests are welcome. One-on-ones are available, and I'll see you soon.